Let's bring in Chris Stigall.
He is Chris Stigall.
Chris Stigall.
I'm joined now by Chris Stigall.
Host of the Chris Stigall Show.
So let's bring in talk radio host Chris Stigall.
Also, his podcast is a must-listen every day. Chris Stigall Show podcast.
And host of the Chris Stigall Show.
Let's bring in Chris Stigall.
Please welcome Chris Stigall.
The Chris Stigall podcast is presented by usmedicalplan.com. Save big money monthly and get better health coverage at usmedicalplan.com.
Hey there, thanks a lot for downloading the Chris Stigall Show podcast. I know there are many, many podcasts you could choose from, so that you choose us is not a small thing. Thank you. Thanks for the 5-star reviews. Thanks, as always, for your written reviews at Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And I want to tell you about my friend in Cincinnati named John Ruhlman. Now, he runs a company called U.S. Medical Plan. And John has been a sponsor of mine and a friend of mine for a long while. And he has gotten calls from this audience, including calls from my own family, calls from colleagues and friends of mine who have shopped with him their current health insurance plan. And he has saved friends and family thousands of dollars, literally. Let me give you for example. I have a friend who bought private health insurance for his family. His daughter had some special health needs that cost him quite a bit of money a month to get premiums covered for all of them. John found him identical coverage and saved him $2,000 a month. That's jaw-dropping money. My parents called John for a supplemental health insurance plan for their Medicare. John saved them $400 a month. Now, every nickel is precious, particularly when you're sitting on an income that you've got to count on for the rest of your days and you're counting your change. $400 is a lot of money. All right, so that's what John can do for you. Or maybe if you have no health insurance at all and you think it's too expensive, I can't afford it right now. He has over 100 different private health insurance companies all over the country that he shops and compares so that he gets you the best rates and never cheats you on coverage, by the way. It doesn't mean it's some scant coverage. Great rates, great coverage. Let John and his team at usmedicalplan.com go to work for you today. You can also call 877-410-4321. 877-410-4321, usmedicalplan.com. Don't mind me, folks. Just doing a little printing here this morning to wrap some things up. We got a lot popping here. Glad to have you along. Live look at Kansas City, Missouri this morning. Beautiful looking shot there at the Union Station in downtown Kansas City. Telephone number, if you want to call in today. Apparently, I was told, and I didn't know this, we've been having some phone trouble. Those of you that have been trying to get in on the show, we have been trying to get this phone situation rectified. We do have an alternative phone number today, I'm told, if you want to try it. It's up there on the screen. Those of you listening, it's 844-820-5816, 844-820-5816, and you can always find me online at chrisstigall.com. That may be, for now, the fastest way. And I don't know. Actually, Fast Eddie, given the look at my email box, my inbox as of late, maybe it's just best that we that the phones haven't been. And I know that there may be some people that think, again, because we live in a world of conspiracy now, that's what we're up to. It's some sort of conspiratorial plot to keep people from calling the show. That's not it. I swear to you. Fast Eddie, can you vouch for me here that we did not, in fact, rig the phones for anyone who wants to call in an angry. In fact, I hope they're fixed by Open Line Friday tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I do too, Chris, but as per usual, there is something always technically wrong when there is a need for a high volume of calls, right? Like this is not new to you and I over the years, my friend. I think
no, it's not. So I do. If people want to go to the extent of calling and listen, I'll just be honest with you right now. I have taken, at least for some of you in this audience, a rather unpopular position that I am not enraged. And then here's what's funny. I've also got people that said, don't you do it, Stigall. Don't you spend another day. I won't. I'm not. I think you already know, if you're a regular listener to the show, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to take the bait. But I am going to acknowledge, as I did yesterday, that there are people in this show for various reasons that are displeased with your host because I am not ready to torch the White House over events of the week. And I don't know, Ed, are you, I'll take your temperature as the executive producer of the program, and you and I have not spoken about this previously, but are you, I'll just put it this way. All of the left-wing press is now very, very interested in supposedly how angry you are as a Trump supporter at Donald Trump, which was the theme of yesterday's show. And I'm not going to say the word and I'm not going to get into it, but I'm just going to broadly point out that yet again, we're in a third day of left-wing media telling MAGA and people that voted for Donald Trump why they should be mad at Donald Trump.
Chris, I don't understand that. I don't understand why anybody on our side would even listen to that. No, the left-wing media is wrong. There are so many things popping right now. I mean, we're talking about, he met with, 5 different African leaders at the White House, Trump did yesterday. We have a ceasefire being brokered right now between Israel and Hamas. Just list it. We have the passage of the bill. That's got to get changed, got to get through. Like, he signed that on 4th of July, no less. I don't know what else.
I have a stack. I have a stack here in front of me today of really, really good news. Extraordinary, and I'm going to get to it. I'm going to spend the show getting to the good news because there's plenty of it. There was a huge development yesterday with the Secret Service. I think they're starting to move on guys like Brennan and Clapper and the inside our government coup to try to take it over and to try to throw those who would challenge this government out from ever competing against them again. I think we were inches as a country from losing this country entirely. And I'm not sure. Quite honestly, there are a lot of people, I don't know how much, I say a lot, I can't quantify it. There are a number of people who claim to be Trump supporters who seem to have forgotten how inches close we were to losing the country forever. Because their head is on fire now about one particular story, supposedly. And I hear you. I hear that you're angry. I hear that you're dissatisfied. Does that make me a sellout because I won't join you in my white-hot rage toward the White House over an issue that you've been promised for some reason, not by this show. I've never promised anything about anything. I think there are people that feel they have been promised something since 2019 that didn't come this week. And Ed, I don't know what to tell people who feel that they've been, some shows, not this one, but some shows have been promising there would be, I don't know, maybe even some candidates or campaigns. Maybe Trump himself. I don't know. I'd have to go back. I've not actually seen footage of Trump talking about this, but I have seen Vance talking a little about it. There was always the discussion of it. And when we get in there, boy, we're going to take a look under the hood and we're going to expose it all. And so right around the corner was the expectation that something was coming, and it didn't come. And so I'm just telling you that CNN and MSNBC and the others are delighted this morning. They're like flies on a dung heap, salivating, that MAGA is furious. And what is the goal of that? As I established yesterday, to part with Donald Trump. To get you to finally, and I if I read it once, I read it 1,000 times. This is MAGA's undoing. And I'm thinking to myself, are you serious? This is a stack of great news today. And when it comes to successes that Donald Trump has been having, and somebody said, I can't believe what, it's another one. You're a bootlicker, Stigall. You're a bootlicker who refuses to be critical. You're just a cheerleader for Donald Trump. If by cheerleader for Donald Trump you mean I want a sealed border, I want a better economy, I'd like global stability, I'd like China not to have total dominance over us, I'd like China not to own our farmland, I'd like to control the terms of AI development. If that's what you mean, I like abortion returned to the states rather than it be a federal law. I'd like my tax dollars not to fund abortions any longer. I'd like my taxes low. So if that makes me a sellout, Fast Eddie, if I'm not willing to light all that on fire over one thing that has made me curious, displeased, angry, or whatever, that makes me a bootlicking sellout. Is that about right?
Chris, I don't understand the charges. I don't understand the attacks. Look, if this like Epstein story was like your only thing, period, right? I I don't know what to tell you. Like then the people have let you down that said that there was something or is something and haven't been able to produce anything. That is, if you're Pam Bondi, if you're even Vance, I guess you were saying, like on the campaign trail, like if you're these people, you shouldn't have been riling people up the way you were if there was nothing ultimately. It's hard. Yeah. Like you've been misled not by Donald Trump, by the system itself, not by Trump.
And the problem is, you only have one way to go with this now. I'll just say, you only have one way to go with this now, and that is, are the people who now run our government covering it up? Or it never really was there to begin with, or it's not there to be found because the people that were in charge prior dispatched with it, perhaps. Maybe they disposed of it, maybe it's hidden, maybe it's been burned, lit on fire, gone. My point is, we now have to deal with the reality. Those of you who wanted this didn't get what you wanted. And so you have a decision to make. Is that Donald Trump's fault? Has Donald Trump's agenda been derailed because of this? Has Donald Trump or J.D. Vance or whomever let you down? I mean, you're going to have to make that decision. Here's my answer to that. No. No, not by a long shot. For all of the really, really great news reasons that I'm going to share today. I refuse to buy into this narrative that support for Donald Trump's agenda has fallen off because of this one issue this week that has left many of you dispirited and displeased, I guess. And I don't know how, again, I can't quantify it, but I spent a second day taking incoming over this issue, and I just, I want you to know, I'm happy to hear from you, but I don't think character assassination of people that don't share your point of view that are on our side, which is exactly where they'd want you. Somebody even said to me today, you ought to use your platform more wisely. I said, okay, what does that mean? Sharing your outrage over a story means I'm not using that I don't share it. I'm not using the platform wisely. I'll tell you this. You are welcome to call this number that we've set aside here today, 844-820-5816. Until we get our regular number operational. It's up there on your screen if you're watching on the Salem News Channel. You are certainly welcome to call and discuss this with me. You are. I hope that you will. 844-820-5816. For the rest of you, for the rest of us, and I actually think it's the majority of this audience, I don't think the majority of this audience is furious at Donald Trump and about to abandon him as the left-wing media would have you believe. I don't think that's where you are. I think where you are is like me. There is an agenda a mile long. There are priorities facing this country that are huge. There was one item to date that I know of that has not been delivered at a level, I guess, if you want to call it meaningful or a big ticket item on which you feel you've been let down. Otherwise, I can't name it. I mean, I sincerely. And if that makes me a boot-licking cheerleader, then I guess I am. But if you're asking me to hit rewind and go back to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and where we were and a president whose home was raided and he was nearly jailed and nearly killed in trying to take them on as an opposition party, I don't want to go back to that, folks. I don't know about you, but I don't want to return to that. More in a minute. Now, O'Reilly claimed last night, incidentally, he was on News Nation. Bill O'Reilly was over there on News Nation. He claims, Fast Eddie, that he talked with Trump about this business and that Trump said there are names associated with this guy. I'm trying to say his name because people get twitchy about it. There are names associated with this guy who have had lunch with him and correspondence with him but have not been engaged in the heinous stuff that he was convicted of having done. And it is for that reason that there are names associated with him that, rather than I paraphrase it, let me just read the direct quote. He said, I agree there are names of associations with the guy that had nothing to do with his conduct. They maybe had lunch or maybe had some correspondence for one thing or another. If that name gets out, those people are destroyed because there's not going to be any context. Media doesn't care about context, so you can't do that. All right, so how does that set with you? That's what Bill O'Reilly claims, that he talked with Trump about this specifically, and Trump said, look, there are names associated with the guy who had lunch. We have records of the guy having lunch, conversations, visits, business transactions, emails, but they weren't raping kids. And if we release all of that, media will blow it up, and everybody who's involved in ever having spoken to the guy now is going to be accused of raping children. And according to this is Bill O'Reilly, not me. Bill O'Reilly's claim that that's Trump's justification for not just flooding the zone with everything they know about the guy. How does that sit?
I mean, that point makes sense, but I don't think Trump would say that. Why the hell would Trump say that to Bill O'Reilly? There's no way. I just don't. I don't believe that.
He said, I talked to President Trump man to man, eye to eye on St. Patrick's Day about this. He said, and I agree. Lots of names associated. Maybe had lunch. Maybe had some correspondence. If that name gets out, those people are destroyed. There's not going to be any context. Media doesn't care about context, so you can't do that. You don't believe O'Reilly had that conversation at all?
No, I don't know why Donald Trump would be speaking with Bill O'Reilly about that specifically. I don't believe it, no.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, Bill from time to time comes on this show.
Yeah.
Would you say that to his face?
Absolutely. Yes.
You would?
Oh, yeah, because I enjoy conflict, Chris, so he's always willing to mix it up.
So you really think Bill O'Reilly went on Cuomo's show yesterday and just made that story up to do for and I'm just asking, not that I'm arguing with you, I'm just for what reason?
To try and get people to see his point of view. Like he's a master communicator. He knows how to spin things, like the no spin zone, right? This is a way to talk about it and say just like, oh, I hadn't considered that. It's just like, yeah, Bill made a good point there, didn't he? That if these names are released and it's out of context and they just had lunch with the guy, that this could blow up into something bad. So it's just to get his point across to validate what he's thinking about it.
Here's one today. So if this was 2001, you'd be telling us Saddam had weapons of mass destruction, right? Well, look, Ed, I guess here's what I'm trying to sort out as your host. And I'm in a bit of a spot here. I don't like running from anything. I run from nothing. I am not afraid to tackle hard things. I am not afraid to get crossways with members of this audience if necessary. It doesn't bother me in the least. And as I like to acknowledge when I understand that there's a healthy percentage of an audience that doesn't see things the way your host does. I like to acknowledge it because I think it's healthy. I think the very notion that we don't always see eye to eye on everything is a very good thing. I think this audience is so smart and sophisticated that you are inclined to have your own opinion about anything on any given day. I've always said I don't ask you to share my opinions just because I say them. I'm not an influencer. Again, I'm not trying to change your mind or heart about a thing. So I recognize that from time to time, you and I don't see things eye to eye. And on this one, a lot of you, I don't know how many of you, are just furious with me. Furious. Disappointed. May never listen again. In fact, I hear, Fast Eddie, because I did not get appropriately outraged about this. And so I'm trying to figure out in real time, if I'm just to be completely honest with you, we're a newly, just 6 months in, nationally syndicated show with a brand new president who's also just 6 months in. And so I'm trying to just lay bare with this audience as honestly as I can. This is where I find myself. There's a chunk of this audience who has basically said they're done with the show because I'm not sufficiently outraged over this story. And so I'm trying to figure out how to process that. That makes sense?
Makes total sense, Chris. Yeah.
Maybe there's not an answer to it. Maybe we just move on and I pretend it didn't happen and everybody gets mad about something else next week. I mean, there was Israel before this one, so. In Columbus, Ohio, it's Randy to kick things off this morning. Randy, I am glad you called. Thanks for waiting. Good morning, sir.
Thank you. Love your show. I'm a faithful listener. You're spot on 100% of everything. But we the people have spoken. We spoke back on January 6th, and it was an insurrection, so that's what they wanted to call it. It wasn't an insurrection. I mean, all this stuff is about Epstein. There's too many things that don't line up here. We the people want to know. Our government is famous for telling us, hey, look here, but don't look here. They're famous for pulling the wool over our eyes and not telling us what we need to know. And it goes all the way back.
Here's my question, and I'm not arguing your point, and I don't disagree. So Donald Trump, now president of the United States, does that mean he's doing that to you?
I don't think so. I think it's above his head. I don't know if you ever heard of the cabal or the deep state, or it's all together. This thing is much huger than what you and I think. You're very knowledgeable and you're on spot on a lot of things, but there's so many people against America that wants to see us fail as a country. It's pathetic.
Yeah. So I guess here's where I've been kind of praying and thinking about this. How do we, if Donald Trump, the president of the United States, the guy we elected to lead it, isn't in charge of it, I'm not sure what we do if that's the case, you know?
Yeah, I think he has a lot of power, but the power that's underneath him that he delegates, I think, isn't 100% to him, though. I think we got too many rhinos in the system. Of course, you know, rhino means Republican in name only, and they all got their hands in the cookie jar. I'm a staunch Republican, but we got a lot of Republicans out there that's got their hand in the cookie jars, just like on the Democratic side. And
that's true.
The American people do not trust our government anymore. No one ever.
No, you're certainly not going to hear a cheerleading speech out of me on government and just the agency of government. I would like to see government as small and reduced as possible. Do you think Donald Trump is trying to do that?
Absolutely. It's just I think it's bigger than what he is, though. I mean, I support Donald Trump 110%, but I think it's over his head. This thing gets deep. When you said earlier, we came a hair from losing our country. You couldn't have said words more truer. If we would have got Kamala in here, we would have been toast. We'd have been done.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I guess I feel like what I hear about this Epstein story is people feel like we're right back at that. I mean, it feels as though the last 6 months didn't happen. Trump's victory didn't happen. It seems that there's a cadre of people who supported Trump who are now of the opinion that Trump is no better than Biden and all is lost and the country's lost and we're back to where we were before he was even elected. Seems to be the tone of many, and I'm just trying to understand it.
Yep. I'm trying to understand it myself, and so is the American people.
Yeah. Randy, thank you. Because I'm in a weird spot, and I like to just be honest with this audience. I'm not inclined to argue with you if you feel how you feel about this. And I am trying not to dismiss very smart people who I respect who, I don't know, feel defeated about this particular issue. This issue, Ed, this is what I'm saying. This one issue, I hear, and I'm told, and I read, has defeated people so gravely that they say that this will be the dispatching with this president's entire agenda. And people that I know, people that I respect, people that are smart, have said this one issue is going to be the undoing of Trump's entire agenda. And so I'm trying to process that in real time. I don't have answers. I'm just talking it out.
Yeah, no.
Do you subscribe to that?
I don't subscribe to that, although I am shocked that it has taken fire the way it has. I'm not saying that it's not important. I'm saying the way the left has even pounced on it and said, "Ooh, we finally have something." And
but they don't care about pedophilia, right?
God,
I mean,
no.
to be very, very clear, the left doesn't care about Jeffrey Epstein or pedophilia. In fact, I'm sure most of them were probably involved. What they care about is they think they finally found the issue, as I said yesterday, to drive between you and your support for Donald Trump. They think they found it. Got him.
Absolutely. No.
We bagged ourselves a deer, finally, is what they're saying.
And it didn't help, it really didn't help that Pam Bondi went out as publicly as she did, saying that she had the files on her desk. You bring Dan Bongino into the administration. He's someone that was, obviously looking for justice on this. So, it didn't help, I guess, with the personnel surrounding Trump. This is not... I am surprised how far we've come and how many hits that Trump has taken because of this right now, where we sit.
All right. Let's go to Texas, talk to Joshua. We have, as I say, an alternative phone number here today, maybe tomorrow, because we've had some phone line issues. So it's available to you if you want to dial us up here. I'm calling this Therapy Thursday, because apparently people need to get some things out and are upset with your host. And so I say, all right, throw the number up there if you would, please, Paulie, because I don't know it. We got a new number this week. It is not the traditional number because we're having some trouble. Oh, there it is, 844-820-5816. 844-820-5816. Let's go to North Carolina and talk to Brad about it next. Brad, glad you called. Good morning.
You. Good
How are you,
morning.
sir?
How are y'all? Better than I deserve. Hey, it's your favorite No Kings guy. I called in, said I was going to wear the Burger King. Burger King to the No Kings
did
parade.
you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I got videos and everything. I sent them over to your email there, but I did do that. And in regards to this Epstein thing, man, this is what it boils down to. You got Diddy getting off with a slap on the wrist. American people are looking at that going, hey, man, money talks, pedophiles walk. That's the slogan. And people they're not seeing any accountability. Everybody knows the Lolita Express flight was just a plane that was a taxi cab. It went all over the place. Doesn't mean you're a pedophile. It means you hitched a ride, you were wealthy, you could afford to go to point A to point B. So it doesn't put everybody on the list as a pedophile. But what it does do is show you an elite amount of group that did travel to a specific location, and people are seeing that. The information's online. I saw the list of flight logs online this morning while I was sitting on the toilet, for crying out loud. So the fact of the matter is, Donald Trump's putting a permanent poisonous stain on his reputation here as the president of the U.S. by actually attacking the reporters yesterday at that interview, saying, you're still talking about that? There's no there. Well, if it was Donald Trump's daughter or wife or young family member that went missing or was a victim, I'm sure the tune would be a lot different, because there's hundreds of thousands of people that this happened to and occurred to, and they want justice. You know what I mean? People want justice. They're not going to just sit around and say, well, there's no there. And to drive it home even further, like your last caller said, you got Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and Trump. All three said, as soon as we get there, we're going to put feet to the fire. We're going to hold these people down. And it's almost like Nazi propaganda when you turn around and you got Kash Patel a week later on Joe Rogan, one of the leading podcasts in the world. So, of course, he's got a loud audience saying, oh, there's no there all of a sudden. And if you're a body language person and you read his body language during that interview, you could tell he was squirming. So there's obviously something going on. Whether or not there's a big investigation and it's taken more time and they're really trying to do something about it, I don't know. But I feel like the American people feel like it's getting swept under the rug right in front of everybody and there's no justice. And if that happens, then not even the Republican Party, including myself, voting for Trump 3 times, I don't have any faith in that party anymore at all. If there's no accountability, then I can't stand behind those guys.
What does accountability look like in your point of view?
Okay. Well, point blankly, and trying to keep it clean for the radio, Maxwell's not in federal prison for nothing. Somebody was getting busy with little kids. Somebody was trafficking people. Someone was doing that. So we all saw on live national television, New York City, Epstein's apartment getting raided there, where there was garbage bags of pornography, videos, terabytes supposedly of all this information. Someone had been committing these crimes. Justice for the American people would be unveiling the people who were actually doing that to these children. And it would appear that Dan Bongino must have some access to this list, because every other day on the news, Dan Bongino busts 269 sex traffickers or 89 sex traffickers or whatever the deal is. You see every day he's picking off these little low-level traffickers. Well, where's all that coming from? There has to be, just like gang mentality, there's a hierarchy. Someone's at the top, someone's running it trickle down. My personal theory, and I know it's kind of out there in space camp, I think that some of the most prolific elite traffickers in the world are the financial banking global system. And if that were to come out, those people would
let me
go
ask
down,
you this: what is Trump's role in this?
So, from my personal belief, is he came in with great intentions. He believed that he was going to be able to do this. I believe Don found a new life in Christ in his first presidency. I think he had to hold his neck just out of the water for everybody attacking him for 4.5 years, and he turned to God. And I really think that he put his faith in God. And as a Christian myself, I was convinced he's going to come out this time and really do justice. But I'll be honest with you. When people roll up and make alternative suggestions about whether or not your family's going to be here long term, you start thinking otherwise. So the powers that be with money may have got to Donald Trump at this point and said, look, there is no there, and that's the story we're going to say, and that's all there is to it. This could be like JFK. We'll find out 30, 40 years later what the truth really is. But as of right now, they're releasing that information, probably a global banking destruction. You know what I mean?
All right, Brad. I appreciate it very, very much. The phone number, I keep it open, 844-820-5816. I value members of this audience and your point of view. Whether you and I see eye to eye on everything is not of any consequence to me. You're welcome in here to vent yours on the Stigall Show. All right, back to the phones we go. In Pennsylvania, it's Jennifer. Jennifer, I'm glad you called. Good morning.
Morning.
How are you this morning? What's on your mind?
I'm good. I was just calling because I'm getting tired of hearing everybody put Bondi and Trump down about this whole stupid Epstein case, because nobody's looking at the fact that this came out during Biden. Guess what? I think Biden's son Hunter was on that list. Did they make sure all that information was gone? Heck yeah. Did Bondi think she had all the information when they said they were handing over all the files? I think she thought she had them until she read them, but she came out before that too early to say, and now everybody's all twisted because they're not getting what they wanted. First of all, it's just a piece of paper, just like the flight log. It's no evidence. It's not evidence. And people need to realize that even if it was there, it still doesn't say anything. Those videos is what's going to be the evidence. But guess what? They're even saying it's just child kiddie porn. Well, it is what it is, people. Like, Biden destroyed what was there. He made sure it was gone. Bondi and them can't help it. They're only as good as the information they're given. So
you think Bondi rushed out to release some stuff, and she didn't know quite what she had or didn't have, and by the time they figured out they didn't have the goods, it was too late, and people are now upset about what you say. If there was any kind of evidence, it's long been destroyed before those guys got to town.
Yes.
Is that about right?
Because how this was during Biden administration when she first requested the information. They slow-walked getting her that information. Why? Because they were probably making sure everything they wanted out of it was out of it. And then she thought, as everybody else thought, because they heard, there's a list, that there was actually a list and there's stuff in there, but they gave her junk, nothing. Just like JFK, they released the files, but there was nothing in it. And now it's had how many years for people to go in there and take stuff out? Like, I don't know why people are putting their hopes on.
So you are not upset with Donald Trump about this, then? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely not. They thought they had the information that they were told, and when they found, yes, she probably came out prematurely and saying that, she did say she had the files, but that's all she said. She didn't say, we have it. No, she didn't even go through it. She should have probably never came out and said, I get it, got it, whatever. But people got their panties twisted over something. Yes, child sex trafficking is terrible, but it is what it is at this point. The evidence is gone. And Maxwell, as somebody else was saying earlier, she had to go to jail on something. Yeah, she went to jail on testimony, just like Trump was prosecuted on just testimony of Carol Eugene. That was it. No evidence, just testimony.
All right. Jennifer, I appreciate you very, very much. Thank you for the phone call. That's Jennifer in Pennsylvania. In Texas, it's David next. David, good morning. What do you say?
Listen, people that voted for Trump knew what they were getting. If you looked at all of his rallies and everything, and he's done more in 6 months than the last 16 presidents combined in their administrations. And it's just crazy. One thing comes up and people want to bail. That's crazy.
Yeah. All right, David. I heard our colleague Charlie Kirk yesterday. Thank you for the call, David. Eddie, Charlie said that the under 30 crowd's head is on fire about this, and if you're over 60, you don't care. That was what Charlie said yesterday. What do you think about that? If you're under 30, you care deeply about this. It's the biggest story in the world. If you're over the age of 60, so what? Okay. Is there merit to that?
I think there's
How can
merit
we
to
know
that?
I don't know, but you think there is merit to that?
There is merit to that, yeah. I would agree with that.
Young people are moved by this. Older people are not, that were Trump voters. Wonder what that would be about, if true. Young people care about this more than older people.
They've just grown up with. Think about how long this has been in the news cycle for them. So if they've seen the Netflix documentaries, they see the social media traffic. Absolutely, this is a young person consuming everything that's come out the last 10 years.
Okay. Am I making a good faith effort to explore this? I just want to go on record. Is this show making a good faith effort to discuss and explore this and entertain all angles, Fast Eddie? I want to be sure. You're the executive producer. I want to make sure that I feel like when my head hits the pillow, I've given this its fair hearing, wherever it goes.
I feel like, yes, with people weighing in and our phone lines working again and used to you being able to talk to the audience, yes, I do. You are giving it a fair hearing.
All right. And you're certainly welcome on in on our temporary line this morning at 844-820-5816 as we roll on. Back again for Balance of Nature, and in the Maha movement, one thing we all care about is what's in the container, the ingredients. You flip that thing over, and if you can't pronounce it and you don't recognize it, you put it back. I've seen my kids doing this now. They're very health conscious that way. I like that. And the next generation seems to be more so, and that's why I tell them Balance of Nature, and you can feel good about it too. Balance of Nature is just that. It's nothing more than natural fruit and vegetable, plucked right from the soil. No binders, no additives, no fillers. Harvested ingredients that are freeze-dried into a fine powder, and then they use an advanced vacuum cold process to better preserve the nutritional value in that powder. You can know with confidence that you're talking about 31 ingredients that are strictly fruits and vegetables. Every single day, that's what you get in your Balance of Nature. Imagine a platter with 31 different fruits and vegetables on it. Join me. Take some Balance of Nature and get healthy. Use that discount code CHRIS. 35% off plus free shipping when you do. You got to use the discount code CHRIS, though. All right, so here it is again, the number 800-2468-751. Use the discount code CHRIS or order online, balanceofnature.com. Discount code CHRIS to get that 35% off plus free shipping. Hey there, it's Chris, back on the phone with my dentist and friend Bob Spinato at Williamsburg Dental in Broomall, Pennsylvania, just off the Blue Route with new technology. You have not just new associates, but they brought new technology into the business to make it a little easier for patients.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time in dentistry. We have now introduced a three-dimensional x-ray called a CBCT scan in our office, which allows us to diagnose and things earlier for patients. My daughter is placing a lot of implants in the past had referred out. It's now being done in-house. And we also, we've been using dental or computer scanners for taking impressions for crowns for about the last 2 to 3 years. We now have introduced the next step, which is a milling machine, and we can now make crowns in the office. Things can be completed in the same day as opposed to having a temporary crown put on and 3 weeks later coming back and having a permanent crown put on. It's really a game changer, and it's a time saver for our patients to not have to make multiple visits to the office.
Pick up the phone or go online, make that appointment, 610-353-2700 or williamsburg-dental.com. It is great to be with you, ladies and gentlemen, on this Thursday edition of the show. A live look at the White House this morning. A new resident in that building, thankfully. But you know what? I think, as I've said this week, it bears repeating. We were frighteningly close to losing the occupant of the White House's life. And the occupant of that White House would look very, very different today, whoever that would be, if the events in Butler, Pennsylvania, I guess it was a year ago, we hit the 1 year mark on Butler, and Salena Zito was there, our great friend, who's a national political reporter at the Washington Examiner. She has authored a brand new book by this very title called Butler, The Untold Story of the Near Assassination of Donald Trump and the Fight for America's Heartland. It is out now. All of her work is at salenazito.com, but the book Butler just came out. And boy, Salena, timely. I doubt you coordinated this with Secret Service, but I found it interesting. Here is your book's released. Headline today: Secret Service suspends 6 personnel without pay or benefits after Trump assassination attempt. Interesting timing. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me on. I think it's important, but also timing, because this is, I think, the biggest problem with this entire event was the lack of coordination, that we learned after 9/11, right? What was the top lessons learned? Well, our intelligence and our police and the people that are supposed to protect us weren't able to interlock and have conversations. Well, that's what happened on Butler. That day, decisions made far from Butler were that they didn't need to coordinate and talk and have their radios between themselves and local law enforcement to be able to communicate with each other. That was a big part of why this entire thing happened.
Salena, do you think that this is just ham-handed Keystone Cop buffoonery, or is it something more sinister? Because I'm inclined to believe at this level you don't just overlook a rooftop unguarded 150 yards from a former president and leading candidate for president. It just seems almost impossible.
Well, there were a lot of vulnerabilities that day. I remember looking at the water tower, and in some of the footage you can see the water tower it would have been behind the president on the right. And I said to my daughter's the person who took the photo of the book cover. I said, isn't that odd that there's no one there? There's just a direct sight line, and the ladder to the water tower was on the behind where anybody could see, so someone could scoot up there. So, there were a lot of vulnerabilities that day. It's an open farm field. And then there's a perimeter of dense trees and then buildings up against it. So the capabilities of someone who wants to do something sinister was there for the taking.
Salena's book is called Butler, The Untold Story of the Near Assassination of Donald Trump. SalenaZito.com, her website. So we're in a time, this week also happens to be the week of the Epstein story, as you know, and that story, like this one, people believe there's a lot of darkness and insidiousness around it that we don't know and isn't being released or fully investigated or made fully public. You are an intrepid reporter. You're not afraid of powerful people. You aren't a hyper-partisan. You ask all the tough questions. So you, as a journalist, that's your training. You tell me, where are you with the transparency of stories like Epstein, stories like this assassination attempt at this hour?
Well, at this week, I will admit, I haven't been paying much attention to the Epstein and what's happening with that, just because I've just been really busy with the book. I'm just going to be completely honest. However, it has been my experience as a journalist, when there is a gap of information, when there's a hole, it gets filled with all kinds of possibilities and skepticisms. And the best thing possible to do is to be as transparent as possible and be forthright as possible and try to fill the gaps as best can. That's to the benefit of the country. But is also to the protection of people that are involved in that information.
Would that mean then, for instance, Matt Quinn, Secret Service Deputy Director, telling CBS News the penalty ranges from 10 to 42 days of leave without pay and benefits for these 6 personnel? The head of Secret Service, or Kash Patel, or Pam Bondi, or all of the above, should they just have one of these 2-hour, all right, here we are, take all comers questions on all this stuff, whether it's Butler or whether it's Epstein? Just come at me. Give me everything you got. Would that help fill that gap that you were talking about?
Sure. I absolutely think that. And if there is something they can't say for whatever reason, I suspect that has to do with protecting young women that were involved in what happened with Epstein, but also maybe protecting someone who, I don't know, maybe went to, and I'm just speculating here, right? But went to dinner with Epstein, right? Completely innocent, had no idea, and went on their merry way. But as you know, in this environment on social media, their lives can be completely destroyed, right? It could be the most innocent thing possible. So I think having a conversation and saying, look, here's why we can't do this part. And here is why, here is what you can see on this part. And one of the things that President Trump is so incredibly good at is being transparent. I mean, he takes questions from everyone. That's not always easy. And that's not something that everyone can do. But I think that that's probably what people are looking for in this instance.
I was saying earlier in the week, if I were Donald Trump and I'd nearly been killed, twice there was an attempt on my life, well documented, my home was raided, I'd been dragged through all that lawfare, this is why I can't be a president or would even try, because I would be so distracted with, frankly, trying to get to the bottom of all these stories and these people that were trying to take me out physically or legally or financially. And he seems to be going about his work anyway. I mean, here you've written this brand new book, Butler, and the details in it. If I'm Trump, I want to know everything there is to know about it, because I know a lot of the American people do. I know you do. But he doesn't seem like he's driven to distraction by it. He seems like he's doing his work and letting other people figure it out. Is that about right?
I mean, that's what's really important about this book. It's really important to understand. I was only a few feet away, and I wasn't supposed to be. A chart doesn't come down ever at a Trump rally. He never turns his head away ever, and he wasn't supposed to be doing what he did. So when he calls me the next morning, and he ends up calling me 7 times, when he calls me, he talks about purpose and he talks about the hand of God. And what's most important, and you see that in him every day and how he has led in this position in 2025, very different from 2017. But you also learn that in that moment that he decides to stand up and say, fight, 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 that had nothing to do with him being Donald Trump. And he tells me that. He said, look, Salena, in that moment, I'm representing all that is about being the president of the United States. I'm representing America. And I knew it was so important to show strength and grit and show that this symbol of American exceptionalism will not falter. They will not take our country down. So it wasn't about me. It was about the country. I knew if I didn't do it, there'd be panic behind me. And I knew if I didn't do it, there'd be panic in the country. And so, and that thinking has been, goes throughout the entire book and goes throughout the entire campaign. And you really understand not just about him, but how the entire country changed in that moment, how people galvanized around him that wouldn't necessarily galvanize around him, why people don't have an expectation to agree with absolutely everything that's done, but understand that there is a resolve there that is not going to go down. And I think that's really the biggest lesson from this book. It's not just that moment. And it's also the moment that I think that my profession completely collapsed, because the coverage of it was really shocking to me. I'm still on the ground, and reporters that aren't even there are saying he's hit by glass. Well, I saw the bullet hit him. And to that lust to be first rather than a right, that lust to fill a gap,
yes.
that and persuade things has destroyed my profession.
Not you, though. Not you. SalenaZito.com. The brand new book is called Butler. Brilliant, brilliant work. God bless you, Salena. Thank you for telling this story and your time this morning. Just a little more. I was talking with Salena Zito there a minute ago, and just wanted to bring your attention to this again. Secret Service has suspended 6 personnel without pay as the agency faces intense scrutiny after the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. The Secret Service Deputy Director Matt Quinn telling CBS News that their penalty ranged from 10 to 42 days of leave without pay or benefits. The personnel were placed on restricted duty or roles with less operational responsibility upon their return. He said, "We are laser focused on fixing the root cause of the problem." 1 person killed, 2 others wounded, while the alleged gunman, Thomas Crooks, was killed by a Secret Service sniper. I will just tell you that I don't know why it is we don't know more about Crooks. For instance, that's another story that I would love to know more about. I'd love to know more about the dude that went up and holed up in the L.A. hotel or the Las Vegas hotel years ago and shot all those people at that country concert. I never got a sufficient. But look, there are a ton of stories that I don't feel like we ever get a sufficient explanation over. I could probably go down the list of them. And Fast Eddie and I were just talking during the break. It's good to talk with someone like Salena Zito because she is not, she's truly not a partisan. She's not, in fact, in past, she's been extraordinarily critical of Donald Trump. Standing there and covering that Trump rally, I think, changed her a little bit because she saw, I think, with great clarity that, one, the danger that Donald Trump was in, two, how kind of unbelievably, to put it mildly, and this is being generous, ham-fisted the protection and the coverage around him was. And I think she began to see, as she just said, my business, that is, my business of journalism, has just completely collapsed. And so, yeah, we are in a crisis of truth-telling. There is no doubt about it. This country is awash in scandal and vagary about really important stuff that people want to know things about. And there are a lot of people that are now filling the holes in stories with their own speculation, which can sound just as plausible as anything else. And so and Salena said something so important, Ed, with the absence of fact, with the absence of real information, people will reach their own conclusions. And we are seeing that tenfold this week because people like Pam Bondi don't provide more. They just say, this is all we've got, good night, and they walk off the stage. And I would maintain, look, if I'm going to say anything, I would say, you remember when Chris Christie had Bridgegate, Fast Eddie? Remember Bridgegate in New Jersey?
Very well.
He was accused of shutting down bridges for political retribution. And then he got in trouble. That was what it was. It wasn't when he was on the beach. He shut down all the beaches and then took his family to the beach. Yeah. That was his undoing. But I thought Bridgegate by Chris Christie was a political masterstroke, and I'll tell you why. He was accused of closing a bridge for political retribution, and he, whether you think he did or didn't, whatever, you know what he did in response to that? He went before the cameras, and he spent 2 hours taking questions. 2 hours. I've never seen anything like it until Donald Trump. And Trump used to do this with COVID. Do you remember when he used to do this? They would go to the White House podium, and he would just take questions for like 2. He would literally exhaust the press corps. All right, come on. Bring it. Give me everything you got. Every question. I want to hear it. And the press would get bored. Hell, I'd get bored. You'd be like, we're in the second hour of him talking about masks. What else is on? You know, you're watching reruns at that point. Big Bang Theory. In my view, this administration, if I could give them some advice, not that they're asking me, that's precisely what they ought to do right now. If it's Bondi, Patel, and Bongino together as a trifecta, if it's Trump and Bondi, if it's a combination, if it's one of them, some of them, go to the White House podium and just talk until people are exhausted. I think that would help at least make people feel like you're listening. This is the Stigall Show. All right, let's go to Texas. Talk to John. John, I'm glad you called. Good morning. Welcome in.
Good morning. Thank you for the subject. It needs to be ironed out a little bit. You look at the whole situation and what Trump's been dealing with. He's got hot messes everywhere to clean up, and we have to look at this and prioritize. Look at what he's accomplished already. Even I said to your screener that even Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, and Mickey Mantle couldn't even bat 1,000. And look at what he's done so much for us. Give the man a break, a sprout to grow on. You guys are great. Keep pumping the information out.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you, John. That's John in Texas. Trump can't win them all. Fast Eddie, how many people you think feel like John? Okay, I'm not thrilled with the way the Epstein thing unfolded, but Trump can't win them all. Let's keep swinging.
Yes.
That's been sort of my approach this week, and I've been told that I'm, I don't know, a deep state cover-up agent being paid by the White House as a shill. So I know some people don't share John's sentiment. How many people you think share John's sentiments. Give Trump a break.
I'm hoping,
he's one guy.
I'm hoping more than this, but I would say close to 60-40. I would say 60% feel like John, 40% are still not. I would hope it would be higher, but I think that's where we are.
All right, let's go to John in Virginia now. Another John from Texas to Virginia. John, glad you called. Thanks a lot. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm well, sir. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I like listening to your show, and like I said, we don't have a rush around anymore, so you're the next best thing, it seems like.
Well, that's the highest compliment you could ever pay a guy, so sincerely, thank you. God bless you.
You. I'm calling because I wonder if these people realize how much of this information has been held since before Pam Bondi or anything came. They realize that they really think that all of this information is really going to be there. Do they really? I mean, Comey and them got away with so much. You don't think they would just not keep that information there? It's like they're saying, hey, I'm going to leave this information here for you so you can just put me in jail when Trump comes. No, I'm sorry. That's just not going to happen. I believe her when she says it wasn't there. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. This thing about her and the news about her saying the file is there, I'm sorry. She didn't actually say that. If you have to listen to it, I think people just going, they're just acting stupid is what they're really doing. They're acting really, really stupid.
So John, there are people who believe, and I, whether they're right or whether they're wrong, I know this is true. There are people that believe, very, very powerful people were trafficking in children with whom they were having sex. This is a deeply held belief that it is a vast conspiracy of child predatory sexual behavior led by this guy Epstein, and that people aren't being made to pay the price for it. Do you agree with that or not?
I believe there needs to be a price paid for it, but as a Christian, vengeance is not mine. Okay, I have to believe that God Almighty, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, He will deal with them when the time comes. We don't get everything that we want. It just doesn't work that way. God works they say He works in mysterious ways, and He does. It'll happen in time. Are they wrong for doing what they did? Yes. Do they need to go to jail? Yes. But it's not going to be just because we want it to happen now. It doesn't mean it's always going to happen right now.
John, I thank you for your testimony, brother. More than you know. Thank you. Brought a tear to my eye, as a matter of fact. I wish more. I will just say this about that broadly. I wish more people had the faith in Jesus that John had, because I think if they did, the ultimate court, where we're all headed, is enough to satisfy the soul, which is not to suggest that injustice is something you should just swallow and like, but there is great injustice everywhere, all the time, every day. There are injustices and indignities that we suffer in this life, and we always will. But if you're a believer, as John is, and so beautifully articulated, you know that injustice is not forever, that justice is ours in our salvation, ultimately. And, somebody said, why aren't you furious about this, Stigall? I said, because I have that peace that John just spoke of. Yeah, I get mad. Yes, I get frosted. Yes, I see that's not fair, that's not right, that doesn't square, that doesn't make sense. But to be subsumed with rage and vengeance and tumult over things that I can't control and I'll never be able to satisfy is something that I've chosen to abandon in my life. I mean, once upon a time, I was a guy that would whack back a fifth of bourbon tonight and, sit there on the couch and shake his fist and scream and yell and fire off a bunch of angry posts on X. I don't lead my life that way anymore. Again, I know people hear that and they immediately go to, oh, what, so Stigall, we shouldn't demand justice? No, that's not what I said. I just said there's going to be, in this life, there already has been and there will continue to be a lot of injustice in this world. And as a believer, I found a place with that. and a peace with that. And I would wish that for everyone, just like John said. Jordan's in Florida next. Jordan, I'm glad you called. Good morning. Welcome in.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm well, sir. How about you?
All right, not too bad. Thank you.
What's on your mind?
I just wanted to call and just say that, this MAGA movement, it's that, exactly. It's a movement. And so many people that weren't Trump supporters in 2015, 2016 are now becoming MAGA supporters, and they're just saying, hey, if he doesn't do this, if he doesn't release this, I'm not going to vote Republican. I mean, have these people not realized and seen the persecution this guy has gone through? He's been shot in the face. He's been attacked. His house was raided. All of his friends, his closest friends, have had their lives destroyed, their finances destroyed. Like, this man is fighting so hard for our country, and then the first thing we say is, well, if you don't release this, then I don't like you and I don't support you. Like, what is that? We are in a spiritual battle. If you believe in Jesus Christ, then you believe in the devil. The devil is attacking our country. The devil is attacking the world. And the fight we're fighting is good versus evil right now. It's literally, it comes down to that. And it's just, I think people need to open their eyes. They need to stop being sheep. And if you support something, if you believe in something 100%, you have no regret. So if you try, and if you truly believe in the MAGA movement, believe in it 100%, and you'll believe in Donald Trump and everything he's trying to achieve. Just because he doesn't release all of the information that you want to hear doesn't mean he's working 1,000 times more behind the scenes.
Does that mean, Jordan, that you think Donald Trump is flawless, that you deify him, that you worship him, that he can do no wrong?
Absolutely not. No, he's a human being. He can do wrong. He's done wrong many times, and he's done things that I don't support. But I believe in the movement. I believe in taking our country back. I believe in what he's doing, and I believe 100%. I've had MAGA hats in my dashboard since 2015, 2016. I've supported him. I have almost $100,000 in his stocks I've invested in. I was one of the first people to sign up on Truth Social. I mean, I am invested in this movement. I'm invested in what he's doing. It's just, you either believe in this country or you don't. You believe in what Donald Trump is doing or you don't.
So when people say, and I'm trying to take devil's advocate here a little bit, when people say to you what they have been saying to me all week, he's a disappointment because he's letting powerful people who have sex with children get off scot-free, and you don't care, Jordan, you say?
No, that's ridiculous. In politics, you must choose between the worst of two evils constantly. You have to choose between two evils all the time in politics in order to achieve a goal that is going to be greater than those two evils. You've got to know how to play the game. And if you're listening and you're supporting and you're going to join into these political conversations, then you've got to understand how politics works. You've got to understand that we're not back in Obama. Well, we're going to attack at 7:32 p.m. on the 14th. That information isn't being released. We're actually holding everything close to our chest. We're not releasing stuff to the public, and we're actually executing and doing things that the American people want.
Jordan, I love your fire, man. Thank you. I hope you'll stay in touch. I want to hear more from you. Great calls. Smart. This is why I love this audience. I just smart stuff. John's in Pennsylvania today. John, I got about a minute. It's yours if you want it. Go ahead.
Good morning, Chris. Great show. Thank you very much. Michigan, Philadelphia. What I wanted to say is I'm hoping that Trump is holding off for all the mass arrest right before the midterms. But my contention is that if he would start arresting people right now and locking all these criminals up in the Democrat Party, he'd never have to worry about another election ever, and either with the Republican Party. The people would be so happy to see these people going to jail.
Yeah, who are you talking about specifically?
Clapper, Comey, quite a few Congress people.
Yeah. Well, I think, that's another thing. So, John, thank you. I get it. People say to me, and I hear this a lot, I heard it a lot before, where's the accountability? Trump, when he won and ran the first time, remember what the chant was? Lock her up, lock her up, lock her up. There was a lot of people that felt there were a lot of people that felt dissatisfied that Hillary Clinton wasn't in leg irons. More in a minute. Quickly, Susie Wiles, Trump's chief of staff, in a rare sit-down interview, kind of interesting, asked about Elon Musk. Miranda Devine at the New York Post talked with her. 2846. Here's what she said about Elon and this back and forth between him and Trump lately.
Similar. The president was very, very kind to him. And Elon had so much to offer us. He knew things we didn't know. He knew people and technologies that we didn't know. It was a great thing when it was a great thing. And I had a very troublesome ending.
Why do you think that happened?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I don't know. I know that what has been said doesn't ring accurate to me, but I don't know. I enjoyed working with Elon. I think he's a fascinating person and sees the world differently. And I think that's probably what the president saw too, just a little bit different than the average Joe. But it certainly came to not a good ending.
Yeah, the president seemed to be very interested in him. I mean, he would spend a long time, at dinners and things, talking to him closely. Obviously, there was something there, but...
Well, he's the world's richest man, might be the world's smartest man, honestly.
Yeah.
And he does have a quirky, approach to the way he views virtually everything, but certainly business and organizations and government. And insight into people that were really important, I think, in the very early days, particularly during transition.
And do you think he got, jealous because he wasn't getting Donald Trump's full attention, or was it something else?
No, that doesn't sound like Elon. I don't know. I don't know.
She's a pretty classy lady. I got to say, I'm impressed with Susie Wiles. I don't hear her speak often, but there's her opportunity if she wanted to just go full blast on Elon, and she didn't do it. I think that's pretty impressive, actually. By the way, they're accusing Elon now of his Grok, his AI program, being anti-Semitic again. So we're back to that. Anthony's in Tampa, Florida. Anthony, thanks a lot for calling the Stigall Show. Good morning.
Yeah, Chris, you're making the mornings really interesting, so I enjoy your show. Allow me to, from somebody outside of the Christian arena, let me put things in a little better perspective. I believe God used Donald Trump in 2016 onward. I believe he turned around and the incident in Butler, Pennsylvania, turned him around to fully focus in on God. I don't believe somebody walked them down the yellow elevators. I don't believe anybody was instrumental in directing Donald Trump to where he is now. It's all a matter of God working in his life. Yet we focus too much on the left coming against him. We need to get things a little bit better focused at people on the right, specifically the religious church leaders, authors, talk show hosts, were lampooning the guy in 2016 because he didn't measure up to their moral standards. Then all of a sudden now they're doing a 180 and they're talking favorably about the guy. To me, it's hypocrisy. I think so. We need to stop saying the left has always been against him or is still against him. I think people on the religious right are the ones who pretty much, I would say, vilified him, even to the point of encouraging people to want to take his life.
All right. Thank you, my friend. Not sure I share that point of view, but I'm grateful you shared it anyway. Diane's in Pittsburgh. Diane, I don't have a ton of time. I don't want to rush you, but sorry, if you've got it, go ahead. 30 seconds.
I wonder, was Epstein really a CIA operative? And maybe there is reason that they can't go into everything, and maybe a lot of what they say he did was just a persona.
Are you mad at Trump? Do you believe there's more? You think he's covering something up?
I'm not mad at Trump. In Trump, I trust. I think that he's led us in a really good direction so far. So I think there is more to the story, and maybe there are reasons that he can't tell us.
Thank you, Diane. More in a minute on the Stigall Show. Hey there, it's Chris from my good friends at Texas Bullion Exchange, the good people that tell you there is no reason to live with all of this angst and anxiety about the markets going up and the markets going down. Why don't you just do something that has helped people calm their nerves in volatile markets for years? Texas Bullion Exchange, real physical gold as part of your savings. That's what they do. It's not about getting rich quick, mind you. It's about helping protect what you've already earned. And if you join Texas Bullion Exchange's Principal Protection Program, you're going to get 3% bonus in silver on your entire gold portfolio. Now, this program protects the value of what you've earned. So when you put it into gold and then it's time to sell, you get back what you paid. Never less. In fact, usually it's more, but it's never less. And isn't that reassuring? This program protects the value of your gold. Take the pressure off. You and your loved ones can face the future with confidence when you put gold in your savings and claim your 3% in bonus silver when you do it. 855-839-2728 is their number. 855-837-2728. Or visit buytexasgold.com. Again, 855-839-2728 or buytexasgold.com. It's Texas Bullion Exchange. Experience, integrity, and value. Hey there, it's Chris Stigall. You know, this past summer, I went on a cruise with Dr. Sebastian Gorka, Mike Gallagher, my Salem radio colleagues, and I met so many listeners like you who have been on my PhD weight loss program journeys, and I decided for myself it was time to jump in. I wanted to give this Dr. Ashley everybody's been talking about call myself. Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team customize plans for your body to make weight loss simple, and they provide 80% of your food at no additional cost. They treat your whole person, and so I've decided to join so many of you. Join Sebastian Gorka, join Mike Gallagher, and all the weight they've lost, I'd like to do it myself. I've decided to call up my PhD weight loss. I hope you'll join me. Maybe we can start this weight loss journey together. Reach out, get started. Tell them I sent you and said hi. I'd love to hear how you're doing at 864-664-1900. That's 864-664-1900 or myphdweightloss.com. Don't forget to tell them Chris Stigall is going to start losing weight with you. How you doing out there, ladies and gentlemen? Glad to have you along. Looking at Seaside Heights, New Jersey today. Some wet boards as the storm rolled through, but it looks like it's clearing out. People getting on in some biking, a little morning walk. Never lasts too long, generally speaking. Rain down the shore. That's what you look at the forecast in the summer and you get bummed out because it looks like it's rain all day. It's never rain all day. It's just like in Florida. It doesn't rain all day. You get a little wet, then it clears out, then you enjoy some sun and some heat. Anyway, if you're watching on the Salem News Channel, you're seeing that picture live with us today. If you're listening throughout New Jersey and all over the country, thanks for listening on Great Stigall affiliates everywhere. We're so glad to have you however you get here, as well as the podcast and the 3 times a week Harumph Society newsletter. All my social media, too, and you can email me, chrisstigall.com, for that information. You know, Congress secured a historic victory for Donald Trump recently, and really you and me, too, with our codified tax cuts in that one big, beautiful bill. But now that victory could be short-lived if this massive health insurance tax hike comes through, and Americans for a Balanced Budget is trying to warn you about that right now and get us all engaged in paying attention, because key healthcare tax credits are set to expire at the end of this year. And if that happens, some 24 million Americans could face skyrocketing healthcare costs. You could see people lose coverage entirely. Rural communities especially hard hit, with job losses, fewer providers, and reduced access to care. Congress has got to act now to protect these vital tax credits for Americans who buy their own health insurance. You know, that's one of our great sponsors and friends here, John Ruhlman, who helps you buy your own health insurance more inexpensively. Well, President Trump found, the pollster for President Trump found that 77% of voters, including over 70% of Trump supporters, are more likely to vote for candidates who preserve the credits for their health insurance deductions. That's why Americans for a Balanced Budget is calling on Congress to protect the full promise of the One Big Beautiful Bill and prevent health insurance tax hikes. Your voice counts on this thing. StopHealthCostHikes.com to show your support and learn more. StopHealthCostHikes.com to do your own reading and show your support for the movement, particularly if you buy your own health insurance. Those tax credits are meaningful. You don't want to lose them. StopHealthCostHikes.com. And portions of this show sponsored by Americans for a Balanced Budget. We appreciate their business. We also always appreciate Daniel Turner. Daniel is founder and executive director of Power the Future at Daniel Turner PTF on X. Daniel, we welcome you in. The The big cheese in Germany and President Trump have struck a deal. Yesterday, 2861, talking about this liquefied natural gas situation. Wanted to get your reaction to this one first. Hang on here. Listen to this.
There is some non-OPEC related energy news today. Venture Global, publicly traded VG, making a deal with Germany. They will now be the largest exporter. The U.S. will be the largest exporter of liquefied natural gas to Germany on the back of that deal.
That's pretty big, is it not, Daniel Turner, the largest exporter of liquefied natural gas? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, you have to think just a year ago, Joe Biden signed an executive order banning the sale of liquid natural gas. And now we've got the largest contract ever signed. So it talks about how things have changed dramatically. But this is huge because, well, it's huge on so many levels. One, Germany is admitting their wind and solar scheme is failing. Right? If they need natural gas to power their power plants, why don't they just make the wind blow harder, right? I mean, this is what they tell us they're doing, but clearly it's not working. So secondly, they're admitting their failure. They need to come to us. That's good. They're not going to Russia. Remember, all of Europe has bypassed the Russian sanctions on oil and natural gas because they've purchased it through intermediaries who are ignoring the sanctions. Turkey, the biggest abuser of that. Turkey also a NATO member, which is curious. But Turkey's like, yeah, we're going to continue to buy oil and gas, and then we'll sell it to the Germans, we'll sell it to the French, the Italian, the Brits, whomever. So if Germany's buying it from us, they're not buying it from Putin. And if you care about the war in Ukraine, that's a good thing too. So, I mean, this is just a win-win. And I even talked about the jobs in America. Obviously, that's first and foremost. The tax revenue in America, the infrastructure in America. So this is just a win across the board. And go back to my first statement. A year ago, Joe Biden made it illegal, right? He signed an executive order, or his auto pen signed an executive order banning the sale of liquid natural gas. How far we've come in such a short time period.
Are we turning a corner, do you think? And is AI what drives it? Do you think just the discussion, the culture, the politics of energy in this country has necessarily had to change, and we can't flirt with this unicorn dust stuff anymore, solar and wind, because here comes AI. Fox Business Story. Artificial intelligence drives demand for electric grid update. I know Brett Baer's doing a big series right now, and I appreciate that he is, on AI and the power necessary for it. Pew Research poll. 96% of adults reported using the internet at least occasionally on a mobile device. That number has risen since May of 2000, when just half reported occasional use. The internet use was overstated, as it turns out, in the early going, and now it's caught up. So, in other words, the Fox News polling says 57% of registered voters rarely or ever use AI, but they will soon, is the point. So, much like people didn't used to use the internet quite as heavily, now almost everybody does. Not everybody's using AI. Soon everybody will. Bottom line, as you know at Power of the Future, you're going to have energy to get there.
100%. And you need reliable baseload energy, because we continue to use the internet when the wind is not blowing, right? We continue to use the internet when the sun is not shining. And so these are intermittent sources of electricity that we cannot depend on. So when you look at AI generation, what the companies are doing is they're building natural gas plants. They're building micronuclear reactors. You all in Pennsylvania know that Microsoft is opening up Reactor 2 at 3 Mile Island. We've talked about that before. They are building for AI reliable energy that is not dependent upon the weather to function. And so, yeah, I think we're turning a corner, because a lot of Americans are saying, well, if Microsoft wants good, cheap nuclear power, why can't I have good, cheap nuclear power, right? Why do I have to build some stupid wind farm off the coast of Jersey and listen to the governors all across the eastern seaboard say, we're going to build this massive farm? Governor Hochul in New York, Governor Healy in Massachusetts, Governor Murphy in Jersey, all of them promising these huge wind and solar projects. But then the American people look at what corporate America is doing and saying, I want that. I want the quicker, cheaper, reliable stuff. I don't want to build another stupid wind farm off the Jersey Shore in 30 years.
That's a really interesting point. I hadn't considered it until right now. But it does dawn on me that if the American public continues to use technology to such a degree, and the technology companies are not using wind and solar, we just, by watching, just by our own observation, we'll say, why is it good enough for them, but we can't use it here at home? It's like it's its own PR campaign. We have a great sponsor here on the show, too. We were just talking with them last week. I've argued with you before why people who produce energy don't get out in the public space and campaign, spend money, and tell the American public why they're under attack and what they need to do to bring cheap, plentiful energy to us. It seems like they're starting to do that too now, is my point. It just feels like, and I don't want to be overly optimistic if you think I am, feels like the worm is turning. The Greta Thunbergs, the John Kerrys, we had a massive flood in Texas, which was tragic, but maybe it wasn't human beings that caused it. I don't hear as much of that. There's some, but not really much. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think a lot of these lefty issues are all turning a corner because the American people are realizing that not only do they not work, but they have been detrimental and destructive to society. So I think a lot of the trans issues, the race issues, the life issue, the climate issue, I think the left has had a lot of power in America for a long time. But we've gone 20, 30 years now of them promising, we're going to fix climate change. We're going to solve racism. We're going to, and all they've done is made things worse. We look at our cities are probably the best example of that. Look at our education system. It's why the school choice movement has so much momentum as well. I think leftyism as a whole is on trial and it's failing. Also, it helps that they have such horrible leaders, right? So we applaud them for choosing such terrible people to lead their charge, but they're also running out of money, right? USAID was funneling a lot of money to the left. They don't have it anymore. The DNC is bankrupt and has admitted as much. And you say, well, right, if you all hate Donald Trump so much and he's destroying the country, this is when people whip out their checkbook and you're telling me they haven't? It's like, oh, no, they haven't because they never did. We just used to get taxpayer money through USAID. Right? Anytime
Daniel, I got about 30 seconds. Could I ask you quickly about
with her $2 billion? She was funneling it to the Democrat Party.
Yeah, that's exactly right. 50% tariff on copper. Could I ask you quickly with about 30 seconds, Daniel? Mining, generally speaking, is that something we can do at home, or we've just got to start hitting people where they live if they're gonna be shipping it out or selling it to us?
It's a huge issue, really important because we have two of the largest copper deposits ever found are both in America, and the left will not allow them to be opened because of climate change. And what that does is that it forces us to buy copper in Chinese markets where they use slave labor, where they poison groundwater, where there are no environmental standards or human rights. And we do this under the guise of, well, no, it's climate change. So the very forces that are trying to stop copper from coming online are protecting communist China. That's why these tariffs are so important.
All right, we have a temporary phone number. The last couple of days, we've had some technical difficulties that have not allowed you to reach us, and so we have now installed a temporary number until we get our traditional phone number up and running again, and that is 844-820-5816. And throughout the course of the morning, I have been taking your calls, and for those of you that are just joining the show, I've been taking calls, not specifically on, but mostly on this. I hate even saying the word anymore because it's such a trigger warning. The Epstein story. And the reason that I'm doing it is because I am mindful after a couple of days of trying my level best to explain my position on this. Sometimes I just don't get the job done. I'd like to think I'm pretty good at this job. I've been doing it a long time, but sometimes I feel like I'm best suited to just shut up, stand down, and let you have at it. Because a lot of you have a lot to say about this, and a lot of you have expressed to me that you don't like what I've had to say about it or not said about it. And so I've been puzzled as to how to best approach this conversation because I've shared with you in no uncertain terms, I believe in the MAGA agenda. I believe in why Donald Trump was elected. I believe he is the most consequential elected leader in my lifetime. I believe the country was almost lost entirely until his election. And I think it can't be argued that the hand of God was in his election in that he didn't take a bullet to the head because he simply turned his head and by a millimeter a bullet missed it. It's a divine setup for a course correction for the greatest country God gave man that protects our natural rights, and we almost lost it. And so 6 months into this administration, and I feel they've done exceptional work. I'm really, really proud of the guy. And to have gone from being a guy who didn't support him at all in 2015 to now being dazzled by the consequence of his presidency. I've been befuddled by the number of people who, in just a couple of days, because of Pam Bondi not handling this Epstein thing well, have decided that the entirety of Donald Trump's work is to be thrown out because Epstein. And I got a lot of colleagues, a lot of them, in fact, most of them, not all, but most, who are ginning up their audiences I share, in many cases, telling you that heads ought to roll and Trump's a disappointment and this will undo MAGA and all of these things. And so, okay, Doug's in Virginia. Doug, what do you say? Good morning.
Oh, sir, you're doing a good job. This Epstein thing to me is just, while it is a large moral issue, it's a distraction. I would personally like to see more effort made on finding who the money is behind the rioters. I would like to see the fact that there's so many Chinese nationals in this country, enough for several military-type divisions. And I would like to know how the Chinese buy land of any kind anywhere. How did that happen? Is that pure greed or some well-finessed threat or something? I mean, there's a lot more important things, and thank God you guys are here doing what you do. And a joke just came across my mind based on what you were saying a moment ago. We came within a Harris of losing the country. So
came within a Harris. That's right. Doug, thank you, my friend. Glad you called. That's Doug in Virginia. Again, the number, our temporary number, if you want to weigh in here, 844-820-5816. 844-820-5816. That's another development yesterday I didn't even get to. The Trump administration has moved to ban that foreign farmland ownership. That's important. You'd think that didn't happen, though. Got a whole stack of other news that's quite important, actually, that you'd think didn't happen because Epstein files. So come on in if you got something to say about it. Welcome on in. Our telephone number, it is a temporary one today. We have installed a temporary phone line for your use, and I hope that you will. Many of you have let your host know that you're ticked off this week, and so I've decided to do something I don't typically do. I've opened phones today, even before Open Line Friday, because I've hit a wall with it. And I've just decided, you know what? If this Epstein thing has got you cranking to the point that you just feel you have got to blow off some steam about it and you want to talk about it, I want you to. I'm not discouraging it. I'm not interested in debating or arguing it with you. I have nothing to add. I think I've made my case as best I can this week, but not to people's satisfaction. Up to the point that I've had people say, I'm done with you, Stigall. You're a sellout, boot-licking, cover-up con artist. Or that I'm pro-pedophile. That's another good one. I like pedophilia. That's another one. So, no, I'm not interested in covering up pedophilia. Yes, I would love to see everyone who's participated in that burn in hell. The simple point that I have been trying to make this week is the Trump agenda is an important one. And to say going forward, Trump has lost all of my support because pedophiles have not been fully prosecuted is a stance that I can't take. I don't share that point of view. Some of you and some of my colleagues have taken the stand in the position that unless there is a full list of names revealed and all of them are rounded up and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, you're not satisfied and that this is a massive cover-up. There are those of you that believe there is a ton of information that is not being released. Maybe there is. I can't know that. I'm not going to argue with you things I can't prove and you can't prove either. I can't argue and debate things that you can't prove and I can't prove either. So, where are we left? 3.5 years of the Trump presidency. And some of you have declared that this is Trump's Waterloo. I know that's what the left is saying. They love this. They're feeding it. They're so excited that those of you who voted for Trump are now derailed in anger over Epstein. They are so thrilled that this is happening. They think they found their thing. And I've heard a lot of people on our side say the very same words. Well, that's it. MAGA agenda's done. This will destroy the presidency. I've heard prominent names you know, say that. That is not my position. But I realize that in this business, I stand alone. I can't fill a hand with the number of prominent voices yesterday on our side, supposedly on our side, who haven't said some form of Trump's presidency is over because of Epstein. I can't fill a hand with the number of hosts who have not said that. I'm one of them. So, because I recognize that there are a number of you in this audience who may feel that way, I don't intend to castigate you for it or fight with you about it. I am not afraid to have the conversation and let you in. I'd love to have you on. But I don't have any wisdom to offer. And tearing the country down that Donald Trump is trying to repair at the moment doesn't make sense to me, but maybe it does to you. So 844-820-5816 if you want to come in and talk about it. 844-820-5816. I should point out quickly that one of the biggest scandals in recent political history, the fact that we didn't have a president for 4 years, a stupid old man wandering around the White House being led by some subversive actors. His doctor just pled the fifth yesterday. Did you see that? Former White House physician Dr. Kevin O'Connor refused to answer questions while being investigated over Biden's cognitive decline, asserting his rights under the Fifth Amendment to avoid self-incrimination. This is one of the few people that wasn't pardoned on the way out the door by the Husk and his auto pen. Kevin O'Connor told the country that this guy was fit as a fiddle. Who was running the country? 6 Secret Service agents were released yesterday or given temporary suspension over the Butler, Pennsylvania attempted assassination. Who was that guy, Crooks? Why was he allowed on a roof to shoot at Trump? We don't know. That's another thing I'd like to know. Who? John Brennan, James Comey, Clapper, some intel people under Obama, the Russia collusion stuff. I'd like to get to the bottom of that. I'd like to get to the bottom of who ordered the raid on Trump's home. I got a lot of questions about a lot of things, and as I said earlier, we were inches away from losing the Republic entirely. And now people tell me that Donald Trump won this election, an election that I believe God literally intervened in, saving the man's life, and did so to protect a pedophile ring. Fast Eddie. Right? Donald Trump's life was spared so he could protect a pedophile ring? That's what we're going to talk about for the next 3.5 years, I guess.
No, that can't be right. That cannot be right. No.
I hope not, but if that's where you are, if that's what you feel, today's your day, baby. Come on in, because Uncle Chris is going to do something he doesn't do very often, and that's just let your belly right up to the bar and have at it. Take a swing. Go ahead. 844-820-5816. 844-820-5816. Let's go to Humberto in Philadelphia. Welcome in, Humberto. Good morning.
Hey, how you doing, my good friend? How are you, Chris?
You know what, buddy? I'm great. Thank you, all things considered. The Lord is on the throne.
Yes, he is. He's in charge. Thanks for that. Amen.
What's on your mind?
Basically, you know, when we have the Megan's Law, when we have pedophilia, and we have someone that's coming out of the system, you know, they have to register, they have to abide by the law. There are laws and standards and procedures. We understand that Trump is being hammered about this Epstein. There might be some other conclusions coming, but the narrative is that it's going to be okay as long as it gets exposed in its due proper time. The nation's going to be fine. You know, we're healing.
You think there's more to, are you saying you think there's more to learn and there's more going on than we know about this case? It's not open and shut. It's not done. You think there's more coming? You don't think it's over?
I don't think it's over. There will be more coming. It's just taking its time. It could be a lot of secrecy in the moment of it, but whoever is on the other side that is scared and they know their name on that list, they know that they're not going to get away. Everything in this world, you know, it surprises everyone, and it hinders and it comes out. Look at Hollywood and look at all those great entertainers that are being hindered right now, and they're being exposed. It's going to get exposed.
Thank you, my friend. He says there's more to learn. All right. Thank you, sir. Let's go to Turk in Oregon. Turk, I'm glad you called. Thanks for waiting. Good morning. Welcome in.
Yeah. I was just considering the timing. You know how Trump is on and off with the tariffs. It's part of his deal making, and I was just considering the timing of Pam Bonding's reveals and flirts with the Epstein versus the dignitaries who happened to be in the White House at the time, foreign dignitaries.
You think that this has something to do with cajoling global leaders to come to the table on tariff deals?
Hey, he's a deal maker, and he uses all of his tools.
Well, he's made people very mad, I'm told, in this audience. I don't know how many, but a good chunk.
He may have miscalculated, but maybe the what he gained was worth it. I don't know.
Okay, fair enough, Turk. I'll hear it. I mean, that's an interesting take. Pam Bondi's sitting on a lot of information that implicates global leaders, and Trump knows this, and he's trying to do deals on tariffs, and so he's going to try to hold some people hostage on the tariff situation by saying, hey, we could make your day really rough if we let this information out. Okay, that's one man's opinion. I'll hear it. I told you I was going to take all comers on this thing today. I'm not here to endorse or argue. I'm just here to let you vent. 844-820-5816. By the time this show is over today, what I hope is that I'm not going to be accused of doing anything other than sharing my point of view and allowing you to share yours. And we part as friends if we don't see eye to eye on it. That's my hope. Let's go to Pennsylvania and talk to, sorry, Ed, who is that? That's Nick. Nick, welcome in. Thanks for your patience. Good morning.
Good morning, Chris. I'm a big fan. Been with you since day one, my friend. I love what you do.
Thank you so much. Well, I appreciate it. Boy, you may be one of the few by the time this week's over, but thank you.
I don't believe that. Listen, my brother, these people got to chill out. If Jeffrey Epstein's actions were indeed abhorrent, and right now, the Lord judges us when we leave this earth. So if we don't get it here, we'll get it in the afterlife. But Trump is the man. We are so blessed to have him. We were within a whisker of losing the republic. I pray for his safety and security every day, and people just got to relax. The human condition and the human conscience is deeply flawed, and it's percolated to the surface. It percolates to the surface every time something like this happens. People got to remember to be loyal. What happened to loyalty? Just
I am told that your blind loyalty is covering up a global scandal, and children matter more than your stupid political loyalty. That's not my word, you understand, Nick, but that's what people have emailed and messaged to me.
Thinking of it in a myopic way. They're just looking at it very It's like very narrowly minded to look at that. They're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Relax. Everything's going great. We're so lucky to have Trump. This guy's warp speed. I'm a Reaganite.
Nick, thank you, my friend. Glad you called. Let's go to Ohio. Talk to Jamie next. Jamie, glad you called. Good morning. Welcome into the Stigall Show.
Good morning. How are you doing this morning?
I'm well, sir. Thank you. What's on your mind?
Well, first off, I want to say huge Trump fan. I have been a supporter of the guy since pretty much the first debate that he was in. And it's unfortunate that this Epstein thing keeps causing a problem. But I think the issue is less about the Epstein himself, as people's rush to judgment to try to convict people of these kind of things before any facts are done. And unfortunately, there's a lot of things that were said, like, oh, there's this list, there's all this. And then if the list doesn't exist, then everybody's pissed. Excuse me. Sorry, bad.
That's all right. So you're saying you think maybe some people have been overpromised here?
What I think is that when it comes to pedophilia, which is awful, it is absolutely terrible. People are too ready to say, well, there's guilt here. There must be guilt, without knowing any of the facts. And this is a case where we didn't know any of the facts. We didn't know who was on the list or not on the list or anything like that. A lot of speculation happened. And then when we didn't get what we were hoping for, then everything went crazy.
All right, back to the phones. Jamie, held you over from the last segment. You sound like you were winding up to something important, and I hated to rush you, so take it away, sir.
No, it's fine. Basically, boiling down my thoughts, I think that this was self-inflicted feels on our part because we were too quick to, in a rush, to punish people who we didn't even know who they were. And we probably never will know who they are because Jeffrey Epstein was a spook. And there are possible national security implications for putting out people that might be on that list or might not be on that list.
And do you think people like Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and Donald Trump, have they arrived in Washington to discover this and are now sitting on things they know we don't, in your view?
I think that if there's national security implications, they might very well sit on something. And that's unfortunate, but if it is, again, a national security issue, then we probably never will know more than we know now. And this is not a thing to destroy a presidency over.
All right, Jamie. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you hanging on and sharing your final thoughts on that thing. In New York, it's Jason next. Hey, Jason, glad you called. Good morning.
Hi, how are we doing today?
Doing great, sir. What's on your mind?
I'm just listening to the radio show this morning, and I believe he can't prosecute until he finishes cleaning the deep state out, because that way they can't just breeze over anybody that they do try to prosecute.
So you think there's more going on we don't know? They're still working on this case. It's not over, is what you're saying.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. So you're not mad at Trump. A lot of people are very mad at Trump, you know. A lot of people mad at him today.
Well, that's because everybody, they just see the surface. They don't see everything else that's going on. So, of course, they get mad because they're not getting exactly what they want when they want it, instead of realizing things take time.
Got it, Jason. Thank you. Appreciate your call very much. Thanks for listening. Let's go to East Tennessee and talk to Ricardo about it. Ricardo, glad you called. Good morning.
Hey, buenos dias, Chris. So,
yes, sir. Likewise. Good morning.
Good morning. So a couple things. First of all, that feeling that we're singing that somebody's done somebody wrong song that we had that we have right now. That's how the Democrats felt when Trump didn't get locked up. I'll bet you. But what I'm second most upset about is no prosecutions, which I knew there wasn't coming anyways. In fact, back in April on your show, I said Epstein's a big nothing burger. But, the thing that gets me is, from my ninja training, and by ninja training, I mean I've watched Batman Begins several times, but situational awareness. Situational awareness, right? How is it that the Justice League, that I call them, to keep that rolling, Bondi, Patel, and Bondino, yeah. So they're the Justice League. They're in this field, right? They're in the government. Patel was in the FBI. How does he not know that this information is destroyed before they get there? The situational awareness of that is absolutely not having that, to me, is the biggest drop ball of everything. And the last thing I want to say, I'm not mad at Trump, but it happens. We got to figure out what's going on. At least release the non-incriminating information. But if they had stuff on Trump and Trump was actually a part of this, I mean, they had to make up stuff to impeach him. You don't think they would have used the real stuff if they had it?
Interesting. So this is interesting. So you're saying this whole idea that anybody's covering for Trump here, previous administrations and Democrats would have certainly known that and used it to take him out if they had it.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Okay, got it. All right. I thank you, friend. I want to get Jerry in here quickly. Jerry, I got about 30 seconds. They're yours if you want them.
Yes. Donald Trump was president beforehand, and he had access to everything because he was president. So there's one or two scenarios. Either he knows exactly what's going on with the Epstein stuff, and he knew there was nothing, or there was something. So he either is not willing to release it, or he used it as campaign fodder or propaganda, however you want to put it, just to fire people up.
And your gut is what?
My gut is there is something there. But for some reason, they're not releasing it. And I think whatever the implications would happen after releasing it is something that grown-up adult Americans could handle. And it just needs to be done because it's the right thing.
Are you angry at Trump?
I'm not angry. I'm a little bit bewildered and perplexed. Seems to be completely out of character. It's something that he, to me, has the attitude of, I would jump on this and tackle it just for the sport of it.
Got it. Jerry, thank you. Okay, we'll do more of it tomorrow if that's what it takes. Happy to field all comers. See you tomorrow on The Stigall Show. So that's a wrap for another Chris Stigall Show podcast. Thanks for committing to it, listening to it all the way through. You're a fighter. I like that about you. Hope you'll leave it a 5-star review and a written review. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We'll see you next time here on the Chris Stigall Show podcast.
The Chris Stigall Show podcast.